Okay, good evening. Call the November 20th workshop meeting to order. We stand for the pledge of the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The deputy clerk, do the roll call, please.
Councilman Coleman.
Here.
Councilwoman O'Donnell. Here. Councilman Paddock.
Here.
Councilwoman Quinton. Here. And Supervisor Meeting.
Here. Acceptance of the agenda. Town of Rochester Town Board accepts the agenda as prepared by the town supervisor. We're going to add two resolutions that I handed out, one on seeker for local law 11/2023 and one on local law 11/2023. We're also going to remove discussion item B from the agenda, the ambulance contracts. So with that, the financial report is. Oh, yes. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Every meeting.
I just wanted to make sure that the discussion items are quick ones.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But they're all necessary before the audit meeting. So, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain. Okay. Financial report is completed. It is sitting on my desk. I will bring it to you at next meeting. Request for reimbursement. I'm going to pass this around because it was a letter from a resident that included their credit card information, and I did not feel comfortable printing or sharing that by email. There also is a copy of an email that you got today, but in case you didn't see it, so I'm passing around two things. I'll pass around the letter and there's 5 copies of the email. So while I'm passing that around, we will move on to the next agenda item, if that's okay with everybody in interest of time. So the security proposal review. Councilman Coleman had asked for a visualization of what the report would be. We got that last night. I shared it with everybody. Hopefully you got a chance to look at it. So we have 2 security proposals, one from DDQ's LLC for $4,000, one from FR6 LLC for $30,110. So given that, does somebody want to make a motion to accept one of those proposals and direct the supervisor to initiate contract? Or do we want to discuss it further? Do we want to hold off? I think pretty much the one piece we were waiting for, we now have. So if somebody wants to make a motion and a second, then we can discuss it. So the motion would be to accept proposal from whatever the company is, and I can fill in the rest of the blanks.
I'll make that motion
For
us to accept to authorize the supervisor to accept DDQ's LLCs.
Okay, and to initiate contract.
And to initiate contract.
And then to fill in, the address is P.O. Box 57, West Point, New York 10996.
I'll second.
Okay, and that's in the amount of $4,000. So, discussion. Michael, did what you got satisfy your?
Yeah, I thought, initially when I was reading, it seemed like it was a lot of copy paste stuff, but then I got into more details about the specific building, and that's the big concern. Like, I want to have recommendations that came out of it. So assuming we can expect something similar, which was like a 55-page report going around all the buildings and doing that, I think it looked like a good product.
Okay. Yeah, I would agree. It is a big price difference, but I have a feeling that they will do the initial consult and then make recommendations from that point, so, at that price, so I will, so actually, let's take the vote first. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain. Okay. I will, they did supply a draft contract. I will forward that to our attorney, ask her to review it, see if she has any concerns. And, we'll go from there and see. Hopefully we can get a contract signed with them, in December and get them started either now or beginning of the year. So, thank you. Next, we received the new duty statement from the Ulster County Personnel Office for the position we had SM create. This is draft form at this point. The email asked that we review it and see if we want to make any changes. If we do not want to make any changes, they will create the position and then assign it to us. So obviously the big question is, we had a conversation about changing the title. So I'll just put it out there for discussion of what people think, rather than lead constable, chief constable. Bear in mind, it will still be, in terms of the, it will be a supervisory employee. It will not be a department head position unless we choose to do that by, within our employee handbook. The chief title in the justice court system means something different than it does in personnel. So the job title doesn't give it any additional responsibilities or authority. So it was that department would still be answerable to the supervisor, just like every other department. So even if we chose to change the title. So I just wanted to put it out there, given the request we were given, before I said yes or no to this. So
What was our recommendation from our HR person? Didn't he feel that there was some?
he did. He felt lead or lead was something that the county tends to use. I forgot the other word that they sometimes use. Senior, thank you. They either use lead or senior. We sort of settled on lead, but that was just our own sort of choice. The recommendation basically was to stay away from the term chief. But given the request, I felt we should at least honor the discussion now that we have this back. So,
I mean, I personally don't see that much of an issue with a name change on it. It's what we're describing in this job description, like Mike said, like it doesn't hold power, they still answer to the supervisor, they're not a department head. So I don't see why. I think I also, in having talks with an employee here, not use names, some paperwork has to be signed off on by someone with a chief title for Department of Justice.
that will still exist because in Department of Justice, that's how they treat as the administrative employee. But they're two totally separate, I don't want to say concerns, but one is a personnel in the civil service system, personnel title, and one is how they handle it. So, and I think Mr. Richardson's concerns were somewhat that it would be muddied if it was called chief, because of there is, like the chief of police, there is a very distinct distinction about what that means. So
Yeah, I mean, I tend to have a similar position, and I think, you know, as much as we value the contributions that person currently performing this role does in the town. I mean, we're asking Ulster County to create a position. It's a position that any other town could utilize. And there's no guarantee that 5-10 years in the future that the same people will even be involved. So, and I agree, a chief title, I mean, it means something in the organization, it means something to community members. If that person is not in the role of independent decision-making and is subordinate under the office of the supervisor, I think it's gonna create mixed messages.
And it will be included with our organizational meeting in 2024. The positions that we are funding for 2024 will be listed, and there will be a new chart of organizational tree, or however you want to phrase it, created to go along with that. So
My suggestion would be, because I tend to agree with Councilman Coleman on this issue, but my suggestion would be, since this is a draft, we don't have to make a decision tonight. My suggestion would
That's
be that we have a special, either a conference with 2 board members, an employee with the most knowledge of
Okay.
this, and our HR consultant, or if there's another subject matter expert we want to see if we could get in, or we have a board meeting, if all of us want to be a part of that conversation, where we just talk through the issues that keep arising and hear directly from
Okay.
the sources.
I'm fine with that. We don't have to decide tonight. She just said, please get back to us with any. So why don't I'm fine if that's the answer. I can try to put that
Okay.
together.
I think having everybody sit down and talk about it would be good. My other
Yeah,
question.
now I will say that is not executive session.
Right, I
material
know,
Because it's
yeah.
about a time.
Exactly.
So
Yeah, it would be, I don't have a
it has
problem
to
with
be an
that
open
being,
meeting, and I don't know when we do that.
Yeah.
So that's why it may be easier if we just have 2 board members.
yeah, I think that's up to the board. I don't have a problem with having it in an open meeting, but if other people feel like that'd be better with like 2.
How to,
I don't have a problem with it being open.
okay,
I'll find out.
okay.
And then
So I will try to, I'm sorry.
my second question was, did Michael Richardson review this?
Not yet.
Oh, okay, so I think he should review
Yeah,
it.
yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna send it to him. I wanted to talk to us first as a
Mhm.
board to see if we wanted to make any changes, then I'll send it to Michael. I'll send it to him now. I'll also see if he can zoom in, he doesn't have to be
Right.
physically present, so I will look for some dates, and I'll probably shoot you guys an email, obviously this week.
Or we could do it at our workshop meeting in December.
Yeah, except bear in mind, that's when we have to adopt all those. So
Oh.
it's gonna be a long meeting. We'll
Okay.
see. We'll see. Okay. I'll work on putting it together and get you guys some possible dates, and hopefully, hopefully we can schedule it within a existing meeting. Okay, so that's still being passed
Yes,
around,
it is,
right?
yeah.
Okay, so we'll skip that for the moment. So next, the zoning code, apropos. Here's where we stand right now. The zoning code and the subdivision code were sent to the county planning board and our local planning board. We've received back comments for subdivision from both boards. We received back the county comments on the zoning. We have not received zoning yet. They are discussing it, according to the chair, at their workshop meeting, which they have moved to the first Monday in December, instead of the normal last Monday, because it was tail end of the Thanksgiving holiday. We meet or we have the public hearing scheduled November 30th, which is on our audit meeting. We have the 3 public hearings on the 3 subjects. We then have our next meeting is our December meeting is Tuesday instead of Thursday because that was a holiday. I have a feeling that this might be the start of Hanukkah.
Yeah.
So our meeting is, and I don't have the calendar in front of me, is at the 5th. And then the 14th was my hope for us to vote on the local laws. And then the 15th moratorium expire. With all that being said, any changes we make must make the night of the 5th. We have to, when we walk out of here that night, if we're going to vote on it on the 14th, it has to be 8 days or 7 days excluding Sunday, which is how the law states. So we could make any changes on the 5th we want to make. We can all agree that those are the changes we're going to make, walk out the door, come back on the 14th and vote. It's a lot. So my question is, do we want to possibly schedule, and I know, something between the 30th and the 5th? It's just a thought. I know it's tough. I know the time of year it's incredibly tough. The other option is we don't rush to get it done on the 14th. We let the moratorium expire and we get the law done when we get it done.
I mean, if the moratorium expires, anybody who did a project would be at risk. It's public what the proposed changes are.
I don't think so. I think because if they were following the existing zoning code at the time, I don't know. We'd have to get advisement.
Yeah, maybe we definitely.
And when we adopt the law, we also have to, part of our adoption is we have to say in the resolution or in the, how it affects existing applications, whether it, and last time it was anything that had a seeker determination, but maybe hadn't finished the planning board process was allowed to continue under the old code.
Mm-hmm.
But anything that hadn't had a secret determination, because what you don't want is somebody who just put an application in, right before the moratorium ended, and they haven't even. It's a placeholder. So we would have to decide, or we can say anything that doesn't have approval as of the adoption of the new code.
Yeah.
So, but we have to have that discussion. But I don't know if it's, any application, so.
Okay.
So I just putting it out there. What that would mean, obviously, if we were gonna meet, we would probably have to meet Saturday the 2nd. And I don't know if you want to consider that, not consider that. We may not have many changes at all. We can probably do what we have so far. We clearly can go through, I think, on the night of the 5th. There's not a lot. I did have a couple, the letter went out and apparently it's being received because today I had 2 people, one person stopped by and had questions and pointed out 2 properties that are next door to theirs. It was the business zone along 209 that we changed to residential. They pointed out their house is residential, obviously, and they're fine with it, but the 2 properties next to them are indeed being used as business, so we zone them as residential. So he just pointed it out. So the list is already starting of properties that we're gonna have to look at. And the letter went out to 500 and some properties, so.
Yeah. I guess it's hard for me to make a determination because we don't know what the
Right.
feedback from the town's.
Right, and we could at the public hearing night, we could decide.
Yeah.
It's still enough time to do the meeting if we need to. We don't have to decide tonight, but I just wanted to sort of lay the timeline out. And like I said, the 14th is our own self-imposed. We could adopt it on the 28th at the audit meeting. And it just means we went 15 days past the moratorium, but. So. Okay.
So the decision is we're gonna wait until the
Wait
30th
and
to see if.
see what we get for feedback.
Okay.
We don't know what we're gonna hear back from the local planning board on zoning yet. We got a letter from one board member, but that's all we got so far. Then the next discussion, the new employment positions, that's somewhat in reference to the email that was received which I brought a copy of. So you guys could refresh your memory. We can go into executive session if we're gonna talk specifics about names of people. But if we're talking positions, that's not executive session. So I put the possible, and by the way, the litigation, I don't have any more answers on, so. That was a placeholder, so. So given that email. Just wanna see, what the board thinks about that email, and if we wanna get into specifics about talking about the people, then we should go into executive session.
Feel like it warrants it.
Yeah, I feel like it'd be easier to.
Yeah.
Do so.
Okay.
I yeah. I think so.
Okay, and obviously we need to do that before we vote on the budget. So before we do that, let's take care of these, local law. These are two added resolutions. I gave you a copy of this, right? Okay.
Thank you.
So, with recommended resolution, the Town of Rochester Town Board classifies local law 11/2023 as a type 2 action for the purposes of seeker review, and no further review is required. I have that motion.
I'll make that motion.
Have a second.
Second.
It's a roll call vote because it's seeker.
Council, I'm so sorry.
Oh, I'll call
Councilman
them.
Coleman, Councilman Coleman,
Aye.
Councilwoman Allen. Aye. Councilman Paddock,
Aye.
Councilwoman Sneeson.
Aye.
Supervisor Bailey.
Aye. Next, adoption of local law 11/2023. Town of Rochester Town Board adopts local law 11/2023 tax cap override for the town fiscal year 2024. It requests the town clerk file such law with the New York State Department of State.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
For discussion, we don't know yet if we need it, but I anticipate we will. If we adopt it and we don't need it, we just don't file it, so. Anybody else have anything to add to it? And for the public, we currently are about $40,000 over the tax cap. We are a 3.3% tax rate increase, which amounts to $6.70 per 100,000. It is a fairly I shouldn't say insignificant, but a fairly small amount. But the ambulance districts were amounted for about half of that override. So with that, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain. Chrissy, I'll get everything tomorrow, but Kate can probably file when she gets back, so. Okay, so have you guys had a chance to read that letter? So why don't I sort of lay the groundwork? This was the towpath tar or oil and chip process that we had a number of vehicles who drove over the area and had oil damage to their cars. We have paid for some to go to a vendor that our highway superintendent arranged for, who billed us directly. According to him and according to the highway secretary, this person was told that they could do that. They originally went to another local vendor who came back and said, all your parts have to be replaced. It was a significant bill. They then talked to the highway superintendent, who offered the same as we've done with the other people, is to have it done at the location that the town was using. That bill was anywhere from $300 to $500 per occurrence. They chose to go to their auto dealer. They did file an insurance claim. They are asking for their deductible to be paid, which was $500. They're also asking for an additional $300 because they attempted to do it themselves and bought materials and gas. The highway superintendent, his opinion is that we should not, if we choose to, we should not reimburse greater than 500. Which would be in line with what we paid for the other, on the high end, but it would still be in line. So I brought it tonight because if we are gonna pay something, it needs to go in next week's vouchers. So that's why I brought it to you guys to discuss. You don't have to decide tonight. You can decide, but to get it in the vouchers, I really kind of need an answer, so.
This has been coming out of which budget?
Highway.
Okay.
I've been pulling it out of administration, professional services, for lack of a better place to take it out of.
So we addressed this, right? We said we weren't gonna do this moving forward and make sure we have the proper signage and everything.
Yep.
But it sounded,
This was the same event as all that.
this happened prior.
This happened in the same time as all the others.
Yeah.
It was all the same occurrence. It was when towpath road was tar and chipped, or oil and chipped, excuse me.
So if everyone agrees that we would wanna do it, I think 500 was what I remember the other jobs.
Yeah, there were some that were a little bit less.
Truck was a little, there was a pickup truck was more.
Yeah, that was 800. But the others, the vehicles have been 5 and some have been a little less because it's less work to do.
But I would wanna make sure that it's clear, like, we're putting up the proper signs, people need to be mindful, like,
Well, that's something we need to address with the highway superintendent directly.
well, we can address it with them, but
Yeah.
also, I mean, residents need to be aware that when there's people out working and there's trucks, like, you have to be cautious.
It's somewhat clear based on the number of claims that have been made, though, that clearly there was some defect. I'm not saying what it was, or because I wasn't there, so I don't know, but this is now 5 or 6.
I mean, I flagged roads before and I've seen how quickly people go by, so. It could also just be that people are in a rush.
And this
Yeah,
person,
Yeah, I have concerns about like precedent, like liability. I feel like I don't know what the law says. Like, I know it's the highway superintendent's job to make sure the roads are clear and passable, but when they're doing road work, I don't know what the laws are around that. I do feel that like, if this was the same event, I understand, but I'm also confused about, like, shouldn't the highway department be submitting a voucher to us?
they should be, and this was dropped off to me. And I talked with the highway superintendent, so I asked him to send an email because this came to me on Friday. So I wasn't able to talk to him because of the weekend until this morning. So I asked him to send out an email. So there was previous discussion happening, but I was not part of that discussion. So the first I heard about this was Friday.
Yeah, because I don't remember this is the second time that I've read reference like, oh, I've heard, the board's been contacted about this, but I don't remember this.
We
at
have
all.
not been,
Okay.
and I did speak to the person on
Okay.
Friday and I let them know that this was the first I had heard about it. I also let them know that the highway superintendent could not tell them that, yes, you will get the money. I said, it's up to the town board, so. So the question is more or less just to expedite the voucher process. You can decide next Thursday whether you want to sign it or not. But the question just remains, what dollar amount should, and I don't even need a resolution tonight. The resolution will be if you sign the vouchers. I just need to know a dollar amount that we should put in the voucher if we are even going to do it. My opinion would be, since we've done many others, that we probably should. It's from the same event. And this person clearly, according to what was described to me verbally, and I can't remember it's in the letter, lives on towpath and pulled out into this oil and chipping. So it wasn't that they didn't see a sign because they were going into the middle of the road,
It's not a subtle process.
Yeah, no, agreed. Agreed.
No, and that's not described in the letter that we got internally as what happened, that they pulled out of their driveway.
Yeah.
It was that they ignored a flag.
Did it say it in the
drove
letter
away.
that they?
No,
In the letter.
It's in this letter, but in the
letter from
other
the person's car was damaged, the other correspondence did not say that.
Right.
I think we should pay them based on the principle that we have done this. I think that strongly feel like this needs to end of us doing this. I think it's putting us in a weird liability situation for if people's cars get damaged with
Mhm.
road work. I don't think they also, if this is, if there's anyone else from this event that pops up, they shouldn't be told what specific garage to use either. I think that
Right.
is an issue in itself as well, but I think I'm fine with
Yeah.
paying them. I think we should just, the amount, and I would like to hear other opinions on that.
My opinion is 500, which is what we paid the others, and that we pay that same amount, and this case, they provided the receipts, so we're paying it to them directly. The other one was done, it was done the way it was for expediency. You know, as I've said to you guys before, the highway department submits vouchers, the board is free to not sign or sign any voucher that they choose to. And if it goes unsigned, it goes unsigned, and it's not paid until we have 3 signatures. So I agree, we need to resolve to make sure this does not happen again next season. Absolutely, but that's separate from this. That's a separate discussion, at least in my opinion.
Also, I mean, this wasn't a collision accident, right?
No,
Even though that language is used, so like, I also don't want to acknowledge that language that we're paying a deductible for a collision.
no,
No, I
we're-
agree that liability is a big concern. I mean, if somebody hits a pothole and breaks their axle or drives off the road, and gets hurt, like, are we?
I think what we're paying is the amount of the cleaning costs and the insurance.
No, I'm
paid for-
just-
Yeah,
I think everyone's pointing out the future liability for accepting damages based off of road conditions or active road work. The steel plate off there and somebody goes off the road, or they're gonna.
I mean, to some degree, and it's not a comparison, but it's somewhat no different than when we snowplow, and if we knock down mailboxes, we have replaced mailboxes. We're not required to, we're not liable, but we've done it because it's the right thing to do, so.
But it's our fault, and in this case, I think the driver has some responsibility as well. Like in
Agreed.
all of these tar cases, not
Agreed.
just this one.
Agreed. I'm not looking at it as that we're accepting any liability. I'm looking at it as the vehicle was damaged at the result of and we're basically paying cleaning costs.
Yeah.
Well, also, don't insurance companies, if they think someone else is liable, don't they typically want to have the other insurance company handle that?
Well,
Yeah.
this one didn't clearly, because this one already
That's what I-
paid out. So,
But they could come back to our insurance now and say, oh, you paid the deductible, you're accepting fault, you should reimburse us for 3,000.
are we accepting fault though? I don't know that we're accepting fault. We're reimbursing somebody. I don't know that.
Yeah,
that
we're-
means
you
the
know,
same
we're-
as we're accepting.
Again, not, I don't have a legal answer for you, but I would think that by paying the $500 deductible, we are accepting fault. By not paying it, we would say that's why you have a deductible, is when
Yeah.
something happens, you get your repair and you don't have to pay the full price of it.
But the other people didn't go through their insurance company. They just did what they were told. If this person had just gone to
Yeah.
the company that we use locally, we would have paid that company for the service.
The other thing is again, a company, they literally took parts of the car off, put new parts in. We never got to see if it was able to be cleaned. They replaced parts of the car that they said were damaged. This one's different than the other one.
Agreed.
We could ask our insurance provider and say, would you be okay with us paying this? Should we get any documentation that says, I accept,
That's a good idea.
fault
Yeah.
for this and
Yeah,
acknowledge the town will
The
reimburse.
acceptance of the $500 waives the town of any future liability for this case.
Let me find out how he wants us to word that. I'm concerned that if we don't acknowledge it at least, that we're gonna end up with a bigger lawsuit and.
Yeah, that's fine. I just don't have to pay 3,000 or whatever.
No, we're paying.
Or have our insurance pay it and then we pay our deductible, which is 5,000.
Our insurance would not pay this, I don't. I'll be
Yeah.
very honest, I don't think our insurance would pay this. I think they would deny the claim because it has nothing to do with. I don't know, I could be wrong on that.
Depends who our
We
insurance
didn't take it, we didn't take any of them to our insurance company because the total amount we spent is less than our deductible of what we would have paid for the insurance company anyway, so.
The difference with all the other ones though, and it's been stated is we asked them to use a service, we paid for the service.
Right.
This, we asked the exact same thing, the first one to Walmart, and then drove to New Jersey. So, and then submitted it to their insurance company. Is the $500, I think we all agree is reasonable. The only question is does it open us up to something in the future by accepting the $500, which we think is the right idea? Does it put us in a place where, what happens if the transmission on the car goes? They want to
Let me try to get answers from both our insurance company and our attorney, and in the meantime, I'll ask the highway to prepare a voucher for $500, and then I'll try to get answers by next Thursday.
That sounds good, Mike.
Okay.
Do we want to communicate with the person at all and just tell them that we're looking into it?
Well, let me wait till I talk to the insurance and the attorney, and I don't know if that's gonna happen between now and Thursday, just because of the holidays and stuff, so.
It just looks like they've been waiting a while. I don't think they're
Yeah,
doing it.
well, I did talk to them on
Oh.
Friday. When I got this letter, I called them. Actually, they called me to make sure I'd gotten the letter because they dropped it off when I wasn't there. Okay, so we need to then go into executive session. Dave, you can stay if you want to weigh in on the budget, but we can go in the, I don't want to send Chris, I don't want to send Chrissy outside. But when we get to the ambulance, I would like you to sort of weigh in.
So we're gonna go in like hallway.
Yeah, we'll just, I think this will be quick.
Okay,
Is everybody okay with that?
sure. So I'll make a motion to enter into executive session at 7:09.
Yeah, and it's discussion of, we're gonna take up the pending litigation and so it's going to be discussion of.
For matters leading, to the appointment, employment of the most.
Got it. Okay,
I'll second.
so, well, if we're gonna go in the other room, we can just leave the stream going.
Yeah, it'll be,
Yeah.
yeah. So we should vote on.
Oh, thank you. I got a motion second. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? I may have to go around.
Sign.
Going on.
One of these.
Set up like 50 tolerances associated with both. Go with it. Saw a thing the other day that was this guy was doing Thanksgiving leftover tacos. And I was taking a peanut, he was making his own thing, he's putting them all together. That seems like a pretty solid idea right there, gonna be honest with you.
Wait, your cooking shop?
I'm telling you, I'm watching great.
Did you fix the camera?
I did. Cue the Jeopardies. Cue the Jeopardies.
Exactly.
Okay,
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to exit executive session at 7:19. Yeah.
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Now to the budget. What I have for you guys is a printout, and I know, but it's so we're all looking at the same thing. So this is the highway one. Actually, I didn't print a copy for you, but what I did is any changes we make, I've got a spreadsheet so we can just write them down as we go. Because this is gonna get thrown in the garbage tomorrow and be replaced with whatever we change tonight. So that's general. I'm sorry, that's highway. This is general. The cover sheet as it stands right now. In case you guys want to take notes as you go of any changes we make. Here's a little cheat sheet spreadsheet. So the way we can do this one of two ways. We can list all the changes and do one vote. We can take them one by one. We can group whatever we want to group together. There's a few that I can tell you right off the top that I know have to happen on health insurance. There's some ups and a few downs, and they can all sort of be done in one fell swoop. So, if you start with general on the second page in the revenue line, there's two highlighted yellow ones down near the bottom. So dental insurance is going from 30 for revenue side from $30,071 to $33,071 to $33,272. It's going up.
Medical.
No, dental.
You have medical highlighted though?
I'm sorry. Medical, excuse me. And then the vision insurance is going up from 111 to 167. So, we want to handle those two together. I'll go ahead and make a motion. So this will be resolution number 1 for these. The fund will be general. And to change those two revenue lines as presented. Second. So motion by Baden, second by Coleman. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstaining. And Chrissy, the numbers are, I can get you the numbers if you want tomorrow. It's the 33,071 is changing to 33,272, and $111 is changing to 167. And corresponding, if you go to almost the last page, I think page 44 or 55, on the expenditure side, the medical insurance is changing from 166,108 to 167,650. And the the vision is moving from $444 to $665. So that'll be resolution number 2. And I'll make that resolution. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And Paddock. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained. Okay, those are the only ones in general. In highway, I think I forgot to change the revenue side. The expenditure side is resolution 3, changing. I highlighted the total, but that's just going to change as the so the dental insurance is reducing from 4,746 to 3,861. And the vision is dropping from $811 to $663. And I'll make that motion. Okay. We had one employee drop both, and that's why the difference there. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained. Okay, those are the only changes that I have. So, anybody, why don't we start with the lighting district? I don't think there's any changes there. I've put some of the fund balance toward it. One of these days, Central Hudson will get all our bills now, and we'll know really where we stand. The ambulance district, and this is where, with the board's permission, since Dave is the chair of the ambulance advisory committee, we allow him to advise us. So I had conversation today with Mr. Nurko, who informed me they have hired a bookkeeper. She has been unable to get anything together. We had asked them to have it to us by last Friday. He and I played phone tag Thursday through the weekend. We finally connected today. The 189, they basically said, leave that ask there, which is what we agreed to with the preliminary budget. They still hope to get us a budget soon. Their calls, he did say that they had 2 calls that, because they were out on another call, they were unable to respond to recently. But and another one, because they have a second ambulance that is waiting for parts, they were unable to respond to. And we did get a letter from both them and from the staffing agency that they are ending their contract as of the end of November. He tells me they are looking elsewhere to hire somebody else starting in December. So
End of this week, isn't it?
I thought it was November 30th.
Yeah, I thought, what? 25th?
I thought it was 30th.
Midnight on the 26th. Actually, midnight on the 25th.
Okay.
Since you have a, well, they don't even have a contract, but it will cease operation.
So the question is, I mean, we don't have to the question we need to answer tonight is the budget number, whether we hire KFAS or somebody else. Question is, are we comfortable with that budget? We're not in a position really to discuss the contract. That's for a later time, but the question is, do we stick with that 189? If the answer is we stick with that 189, we can move on for tonight. We're not get into this whole about, because we still have to sign a contract at some point if we are going to use them.
So Dave, I know it's been a rat's nest down there. So
We'll say that
as our advisor, boots on the ground over there, is that number reasonable?
I would feel comfortable staying with that number. You know, they've managed to operate with the monies that would have given to them this year, the lesser amount of money, and still continue to operate and provide a service. You know, moving forward with, like I said, with, you know, we've had the meetings with inflation and so on and so forth. And if they go with another staffing agency, we don't know if there's going to be an increase of services or if there's going to be a lack of volunteers and those numbers are going to increase. But the committee as a whole feels that those numbers are pretty solid numbers that they should be able to work with, and other funding that they're going to be seeking from other avenues, that should be a good number for them to operate with.
Okay. So is everybody satisfied with that?
Not going into other.
Yeah. The other stuff is for a different time, and I just.
Us numerous times, and we've made them well aware of it, that's between them and their staffing agency, and As long as the contract with the town is being fulfilled and they're providing the services, that's all that matters.
How they fulfill the
Right,
services
and
is
that's
up to them.
exactly what I said, exactly what I told
Yeah.
them, is, whatever is going on there is an operational thing on your end, has nothing to do with the town board or the advisory committee. We're here to just make sure that you're providing a service to the town and that the funding is going towards those services.
And they are meeting the calls. With the exception of those.
They did get their ambulance back on Friday,
Okay,
so they do have 2 ambulances.
okay. Well, that's good.
They did get their ambulance back on Friday.
That was just the update of the recent number of calls.
Right.
There were 3 that they did not respond to, which is night and day better than it was a year ago.
Right,
So,
right. Yeah, so,
okay,
like I said,
you're working on this.
yeah,
thank you.
those numbers we feel are pretty
Yeah.
in line with
Great.
what they're looking for, and as well as Marbletown as well. They justified what they're
Okay.
looking for, and
So we'll continue the other discussion
Yep,
at a later
absolutely.
time, but
Absolutely.
thank you. I appreciate
No
you
problem.
being here tonight.
Yeah.
thank you.
So-
Any questions beforehand, or?
I don't think so. I mean, as
Okay.
long as the committee is comfortable with that number.
Yeah,
and-
yeah, and we've emphasized to each other that, that's a number for the town to put as a placeholder, and there's nothing, like you had said, there's still contract
And if you-
negotiations and stuff that have to take place.
If you could reach out to both agencies and just remind them, so our next payment, I believe, is due to them December 15th.
That's my fault, to be honest with you. With the quarters, I kind of
I got
got mixed up with the
Yeah.
quarters being the way they
Yeah.
are with the last
Yeah.
payment, so I'll reach out to them.
Yeah, just see, because we have 3 meetings in December that we can easily sign a voucher at any time, so.
Yeah, because matter of fact, Mr. Newell contacted me yesterday asking me if
Okay,
I gotten his information.
and the checks, they've now cashed all checks. We are still waiting on reimbursement for some of the, heating oil though.
Hopefully now that they have. an
And-
account,
and
it's gonna
gasoline.
affect-
So, okay,
All right.
thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Take care. Have a good night. Have a nice holiday.
Yeah, okay, so why don't, since highway is smaller, are there any other changes in highway that anybody wants to make other than the ones you made? Okay. In general fund? I think we are good, so we're gonna propose addition of a new budget line. And it will go.
Wait, Mike, in highway, did you have to add the revenue side in for the insurances?
You know, as I did it, I realized it's such a small change. We're talking probably like $150. Let me get the exact numbers, so we can just do a budget amendment.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure you
Yeah.
weren't trying to do it tonight.
No, I need to go back to my notes and once I realized it's a reduction in the expenditure side. It's also gonna be a reduction, obviously, in the revenue, but it's such a small percentage of that change there that it's a fairly insignificant amount, so. I need to run those numbers one more time, which is, I think, why I didn't put it in there. So the question is, do we want to put this in under? We may want to put it in under parks. Parks and Recreation Administration,
That makes sense there.
Yeah.
does that make the most sense? Or do we want to put it under buildings, because it's buildings and grounds?
No, I think parks, because it's parks and
Okay.
trails. Right?
So we're going to add a budget line.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We're just continuing to
Okay.
chat.
So we're gonna add a budget line. I will have to come up with a new code, but it'll be under Parks and Recreation Administration. And the working title right now will be, Grounds and Rail Trail Manager. That we will get clarification from Ulster County what the title really should be, but. So Grounds and Rail Trail Manager. The budget line, we're adding, this will be resolution number 4, adding a new line, $5,200 for okay. So, somebody want to make that motion?
I'll make that one.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained. I'm gonna let you guys take a moment and just look and see if there's anything else you wanna change. While
I have something I wanted to talk about and
Okay.
potentially change. I can, I want to talk about the assessor salary.
Yep.
Just in reviewing the pay scale that we have come up with and the comparables, I do feel like what we have it in on the budget is outside of our, like, the wages that we're paying. So I would propose if the board wants to budget for a full-time assessor at 40 hours a week, my proposal is that we take the pay that we have now, which is for 20 hours a week, and double that and then do a pay increase that's in line with our other positions. So it would be, what I came up with that math would be $75,088, which would be $144 a week for that. So that's, I don't know if people want to talk about that.
what do you say, $144?
Or 1,440.
Okay.
Sorry, I did the week math on that because I know. So I can make that as a resolution and you can just put it to a vote, or we can talk about it.
I'm fine with that. I also think that what we put it in as compared to our pay scale that we're establishing this year was too high for the position. And I was gonna suggest the same thing where we double it to 40 hours and then give it a same percentage increase like we've done with everyone else in town.
My question would be is if it's not accepted by our current assessor, where are we getting them for that price?
And I'd also point out that
Well, we keep talking that we're not making that
understood,
a
but
factor in our-
where I was headed. So assessors are not like other positions in that there is a very, very, very limited pool. The Gardner assessor, who was working 2 days a week and making $40-some thousand a year, is leaving and going to Orange County because they're paying more. I agree that it's out of scale with what we're doing, but it's paying the position, not the person, in that we were paying under. I know we weren't paying under in comparison to other towns. There's a lot of towns where assessors have been there a while and are retiring, and it's the only position that we have a 6-year contract with our assessor. We don't have a contract with any other employee. It's a highly skilled position. And I understand your point, Aaron, in comparison to all the others, but I also think for $100 a week, essentially, is the difference of what we're talking about. Are we willing to lose what we have? And I'm not saying it's not about the person. This is the market of what that. There is a lack of qualified people out there. So they pretty much are getting the names in place. Remember, the other assessor that we interviewed was looking for considerably more than what we're paying now and wanted a staff of 3 people.
Well, I think they were looking for, I thought they were looking for close to this number.
Well, but they were looking for a staff of 3 people, which would have won us out of them. I hear what you're saying, Aaron, but I think, I quite honestly, our plan to go with a full-time assessor will probably probably not happen. And if we're going to go into a revow and all the reasons that were made and all the errors that have been caught over the last few years, it's not the person, in my mind, it's the job.
But that was at 20 hours a week, and we're talking about expanding to 40 hours a week and giving a 16% pay raise.
Understood?
And like, I don't, like,
Because I think
every
we're-
conversation we've had, we've said that that's not how we're gonna be doing things, but then I understand that there's the contract, but that contract doesn't talk about pay. It doesn't talk about like the pay, the wages and all of that don't factor in to that contract.
There's other positions we're giving almost that raise to as well to bring it up to where it should be.
Right.
But, so my point is, it's not about the contract. I'm just saying it is, I'm saying that in terms of that it is a very unique position. But my point is that salary is that is the market rate. If you look at City of Kingston is paying, yes, it's the City of Kingston, but they actually have less parcels than we do, and they're paying $120,000, and they have an assistant assessor and a staff of 3 people. So we have 2 people. And
What's Marbletown and Rosendale's plan?
I wasn't able to get answers, and I think that's, so what I was told that the ask to us was based on a double of the 3 put together and a small percentage of increase. So I suspect when we started the contract 3 years ago, we knew what each was paying. I don't know what they went up to. I did send out an email to various supervisors, which I shared many of those answers with you guys. And you can see it's all over the market, or all over the map, I mean.
We haven't looked for people that could possibly fill the position. I'd be fine if we wanted to cut it. I agree. It seems like a steep increase. If we want to leave it in there, I don't think we need to decide immediately that that's what we're going to offer.
Right, exactly.
So, because I think it's too high. Like I would leave it in there, and then if we're really in a bind, then maybe we have to do that. But I think we should at least look around before we just allow somebody to dictate.
When you say look around, though, you mean offer it to somebody else? Because that makes no sense to me. We have a continuity that has worked now for 2 years. We put $35 million on the tax rolls in 2 years because of due diligence.
It just seems it's like it's a really steep increase.
I would just say that, we don't want, for our legal counsel, we don't say anything about that because we pay what the legal counsel costs.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be the most, not a subcontractor, but a W-2 employee for the town of Rochester will be the highest paid, but it also has the greatest potential for return. I'm very concerned about, what was brought up initially about the inequity to the town residents, both high income or high value property owners and low value property owners. We got a big project that's coming in the next couple of years with the reval, and the fact that, like I said, if we could put an ad on Indeed and interview 10 people tomorrow, I'd say absolutely. I saw what we got last time, and they were qualified, but there weren't a lot. Like I said, I'd be terrified to tinker with it on something that's so important. Also, that generates the proper amount, not so much, but the proper amount of revenue to the town.
I think the alternative is that we leave it at halftime, to be honest. Not that I think the alternative is we leave it at halftime and we continue along as is.
Well, then I think.
But we don't have to decide that right now.
But I'm in full agreement that this is too high of a jump. I do hear what you and Adam are saying. I understand that, but based off of all of the other principles that we have done, every other position, and I get that it's a different position, But every other position in this town has not been based off of how we are trying to decide this, whether someone is specifically coming to us and naming their price and asking us for a position. And I think that that also merits us to control things differently, and us changing it to what maybe the majority of us, I know at least two of us are agreeing to the 75,000 and change, changing it to that, or they go, things stay the same and it stays at the halftime.
Just remember too, though, I'm sorry,
No, go ahead.
is that it's a budget line, right? You could put whatever number you want in there, but if the person that has the position isn't gonna accept that contract at the beginning of the year, we are gonna have to go and find somebody to fill that space at the budget line item we have.
Isn't our contract not up this year? I thought it was up next year.
The contract doesn't dictate how many hours they work, what we pay them. It's just saying it's a term. In New York State, the default is that assessors could be elected, and so there's like there's a term. And so if you opt out of that, then
It's at the end of next year, I believe, or maybe it's 2020.
the assessor can quit, like, it's just the term, it's the assessment term, it's the term.
It's
of-
the same in every municipality in New York State. But I do want to point out, so the ask is not what I put in my budget, in the tentative budget. I did put in less, and I figured my tentative prior to getting that. I know it's not a considerable difference, but it is a difference. So it's a $780 difference, which is $15 a week difference from what the department request was. So my point is, I did not do my tentative budget based on the ask. I did it based on what I thought was appropriate for a dollar amount for a full-time assessor. So. But the question tonight is just, do we leave that number in there or do we change it?
I mean, I also think we should change it because we just added another, we should try to keep things even to what we told the taxpayers. Taxes
Well, we
are gonna
can find-
increase too, and well, this is the same $5,000 that we're looking for there.
Yeah,
It would balance it also.
yep.
While doing something that, I mean, we could put the pay amount to do the 81,000 and change or the 75,000 and change. We can see amongst us and vote and see how many of us want that.
Well, I can also make other suggestions of how to address that 5,000 in other ways, so. Can we table this resolution for a minute? I know, did we actually get it?
I didn't make a resolution.
Because I
I'm
think,
gonna head out for a bit.
what's that?
I'm gonna have to head out for a bit.
Understood. Well, I apologize, but it is what it is, Michael.
Yeah, no,
You
it's
gotta
fine.
leave, you gotta leave, I get it. So I do think there was one of the revenue lines that has, and unfortunately, I didn't bring the, let me pull it up on see if I can pull it up on my computer real quick. From the last. I actually think we can increase one of the revenue ones by at least 5,000, if not more. And it's not just because of this, but. Or we can adopt it as and do a budget amendment at any time too.
That's what was the other thing that I was gonna mention was we could budget one or the other. And it doesn't really matter, but when eventually you're gonna have to make a decision about who's gonna fill that position at what cost. It could always be from a fund balance or another line item somewhere else in the budget, maybe we don't do, the computers this year or something. But like I said, I think it's a tough one because it is out of balance with every other employee, but it's also a very special set of circumstance or skills.
It's not though, because there are other positions that we actually increased the percentage greater than that percentage.
Understood with the percentage, but again, we are,
We created a pay scale, and in that, the draft of that, the assessor and code enforcement officer were in the same tier. And now we're like.
But that was-
And this would be
but that-
$9 per hour, other position in that tier.
That was based on a 20-hour, Michael Richardson did that based on a 20-hour part-time position, so.
I mean,
The
I
value,
would like to say, I think in terms of what people get paid, I do not have a problem with people getting paid more. And I don't think that ask is like, there's like no judgment behind that. I have had to adjust so much what I think of pay should be, and like, I've whatever the word, I've consented to this pay scale because I see the like overall merits, even though there have been so many decisions we've made along the way that I have not felt great about. And so I just feel like this comes up where we get presented, and when we try to apply those same principles, it's like, oh no, this is a special case. But I really, that's the thing that I'm questioning, is like, we worked so hard to do that, and now we're gonna say that, no, the employee should dictate what they get. And
I disagree. The employee is not dictating, and that's my point is, I don't feel like you guys are hearing me. I put in my tentative number without seeing the ask. And also, the pool of people, it's like Adam said, and actually, to be honest, there's a ton more municipal attorneys available than assessors. And I also think that the value of a part-time assessor versus a full-time assessor is not just a doubling, it's not just the number of hours. It's a 100% focus on our town, which to me is worth more than just the doubling of a part-time. Because when that 20 hours is up and they go to the other place they're working. But
It's the same job part-time.
yes,
Talking about the same position. It's.
I didn't see any other towns that are paying anywhere close to this. I mean, I feel like the city of Kingston, it commands higher wages for every role.
Gardner, 40,000 for 2 days a week. That's what, 15 or 16 hours a week. That's not even 20 hours. If you double that, that's where we're after this. I understand. It's the same with many municipal jobs, and they're woefully underpaid. But if we look outside just our boundary of Ulster County, it is the going rate of many other municipalities, and not just urban areas. So. We're doing a lot, but and it's not about the person. I feel like if we make a significant change, we're really shooting ourselves in the foot through all the other stuff we've done. We can probably save ourselves 175,000 reval, because I don't think we can do it with part-time assessment. I think we're going to spend more on the other end with the consultants.
I don't, from my understanding, the reval was not contingent on this becoming a full-time position.
It wasn't, but it's going to make it go that much faster.
We have to lean more on an outside consulting firm than our own internal people. It's gonna cost a lot more than the 175 that's budgeted.
Well, what was presented to us was that we need to do this because our internal review that was done by the previous assessor you should not do them internally, is what was presented to us.
Correct,
Right.
but
So that's what I'm saying. I'm just saying Adam's point is not valid. Like,
but
there shouldn't be an internal review.
Somebody needs to manage that process though. And again, they can manage it, but they can't probably manage it part-time, 20 hours a week, do the job of an assessor and be the supervisor of a reval, not at that price. You know, again, we could get a bigger, you know, consulting firm or a bigger project, you know. Again, I think you pencil in whatever you want for the budget, but like I said, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But then you're gonna have a conversation when you go to the person and say, this is what we're willing to give. They're either gonna say yes or they're gonna say no. If they say no, that's okay. You're gonna either go out and find another person, or you're gonna come up with something else. And if it costs more, it's gonna cost more. It costs the 75 grand. It costs
Well, it's the same
75
thing with
grand.
them coming to us and asking for this position to go full-time and with this raise, they could get a yes or a no, or they can get a counter offer.
But,
And that's what we're saying.
but we had a discussion several months ago about the full-time, and the general consensus was that we all thought it was a good idea and we would move forward with it in the budget. So, yes, that's true. Like Adam said, we can put whatever number we want in there now. It doesn't matter. We can do a budget amendment at any time, up or down. But we have to know essentially a month from now where we're headed. Because come January 1, if the person says, you know what, I'm stepping down, I don't want to do it that way, or we decide, okay, we're going to leave it at part-time, then we leave it at part-time. I mean,
So wouldn't it be easier to change the number now than try to negotiate this, and change the number a month from now to know an answer by January?
well, if we change the number down and we decide that we're going to move forward with a full-time assessor and essentially we kind of do go into a bit of a negotiation, because if we offer a rate and the person says, I'm not doing it for that, then we got to go out and find an assessor.
Or we could ask if they stay on how it is now, with a part-time split.
Right, we could, and the answer may be no.
And then we did talk about a field person.
Worker, yeah.
Well, we cut that out, we put it in the budget this year, and we did budget for it.
But that
and-
wouldn't help with the reval. That was just to make up some of the difference.
No, but my point is, some of what we gained is from that position that we didn't fill this year. Okay,
You guys want to keep debating?
it's fine. Well,
Do you need me to vote on something?
I don't know. I got nothing for you to vote on yet, Michael, so it's gonna be a while because I have to run the numbers. So I'm sorry. I apologize, but
No, it's fine.
it is what it is.
I'm sorry.
No.
I want to stay married.
I understood. Well, the question is, do we lower the number? Or do we leave the number as is? If somebody wants to make a resolution, if we leave the number as is, we don't need a motion. If somebody wants to make a motion to change the number, they should.
Well, so if I make the motion and it's tied, then it doesn't go and then it stays.
It needs 3 votes to pass. So,
We might as well leave it now then, since the other person that can bring the tie left. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, what I voiced when we had the conversation is I thought that going full-time it seemed full-time, 35 hours, 40 hours. I don't know what it's a salary position.
Mhm.
So that I thought that it sounds like there needs to be more staff in that office. What I voiced at the time is the same thing, that I feel like this is just not in line with what we've been discussing. So if we're gonna leave it the same, I could make a motion to change it. I think I know how that's gonna go. But I do think that I would like to have a conversation about it I would like us to,
I understand your point. It is a even more unique position than any. I realize it was lumped in our scale, but it was lumped in as they're both essentially, in many places, code enforcement is also salaried. We went to hourly.
yeah, we changed that.
Well, we've always been
recently, right?
hourly for our code enforcement. It was never salary, but it went from a 35-hour week position to a 28 at
Right.
the request
Right.
of that person. And there's other positions that we still need to figure out with Ulster County.
Yes.
You know, there's a placeholder in the budget right now. We don't know what the exact title will be. And so We can change it, but if we do change it, then, and if we change our mind, in terms of, if we wanna raise it, then we have to do a budget amendment.
So this would be my suggestion is for budgetary reasons, why don't we take the difference between what Aaron's suggesting and what you have in tentatively? Because if it goes one way or the other, at least it's less of a budget amendment than it would be if we went all the way down, all the way up. And then that still gives you the time to, over the next month or so to figure out, what the answer to that is. But again, from a budget standpoint, at least the amendment would be less one way or the other. Again, we're not offering somebody a contract or a salary based on this. This is simply what we're, penciling in for the allocation of dollars for the year.
So 78,000
Is somewhere in the middle.
is, yes.
I would just ask that, unfortunately, because of the personnel office being the sticklers that they are, we make sure it's divisible by 52.
Yeah, that's what I did.
So 78,000.
Yeah, that's 1,500.
Okay. Okay. So Adam, you want to make that motion?
Make a motion that we amend that budget line to 78,000.
I'll second.
And that's, the current line is 81.
120.
81 was start what, Charlotte?
81.
Oh. Okay, so Adam made it and you seconded it?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, Chrissy, you got the time, Michael left, okay, so, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Okay. So I'm gonna change that line to 78. Do we wanna raise another revenue line like 3,500, and that will basically make it be a neutral?
What was the one
Yeah,
you were
you said you
thinking
had
of?
one.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I should have had better information here. I think it was one of the permit ones that I think we aired too low. I just need to find it. Actually, I could fix it really quick if we want to take the tablets out, because from the supervisor, because I actually got a quote from, and I'm hoping I can buy it this year.
Oh,
So if you want to just take the tablets out, that'll just offset it right there.
okay.
As long as you promise me you'll buy them this year, because I would like to have tablets so we can stop wasting so much paper.
Understood. Yeah.
And if not, you have to plant 3 cheap trees for every.
We planted two outside the other day, so.
Oh, nice.
It's 2 per meeting, Mike. It's 4 for budget,
Um,
but I'm fine with that.
All
So-
right, that's on the first page.
So get everybody off the first.
Yep.
Town compliance.
So, yeah, so I'm gonna make a motion, that budget line, town board equipment be reduced from 4,000 to 0.
I'll second. Same. And also,
Saving the town money by keeping it 48 degrees in here.
All in favor?
I,
Opposed? Okay, if you guys can, talk amongst yourselves for a couple minutes, I just need to get all these changes in here to tell you the new total amounts.
Thanksgiving.
So
Yeah.
my favorite leftovers is your shepherd's pie.
Oh, yeah.
The easiest, just
Yeah.
layered, half of it's gone in one thing, not all sandwiches, so.
So we're big ones for everybody's gonna take container to go, like a significant amount of food, because
Have you ever done it with the muffin containers? You get the aluminum muffin containers, and then you can like do your drinking mac and potato, kind of stay separate so that you can just put it in the oven and then put it all on the plate together. That's what I started
they
doing
use
last
like
year.
a little bit of muffin.
Yeah, like the disposable muffin pans, because they're like a little bit bigger than the normal muffin, and it's like the perfect serving size for everyone. Listen, I'm the queen of Thanksgiving, only because I give out 130 families Thanksgiving baskets, and I think of 130 people's meals.
Favorite dessert?
Ooh, tough one. This year I'm doing pumpkin always. You always have to have one pumpkin. I'm doing lemon meringue this year.
We do, she always makes it, but for some reason Jamie wanted to buy a Dyson's pumpkin pie, so I'm kind of excited about that. My grandmother for years made butterscotch pies with graham cracker crust, but Jamie does them in individual size, so that way, you don't eat the whole pie.
Oh, I did that last year, so people could take it too. I got Pillsbury actually. Last year I cheated. I normally make my own pie crust, but
Do you?
Pillsbury made last year was the first year they had it. It was mini pie crust meant to go in a cupcake pan
Yep.
to make individual pies, and I was just like, yeah,
Maybe that's
I'm being
exactly what she did.
lazy,
They're
like,
so good.
because it was super. I was just like, here's your 2 types of pie, have fun. But I normally do some crazy dessert, like I did like a whole fruit tart from scratch the year before last.
Okay, so I got the 5,200. Okay, one more yet.
Go crazy with the dessert for no reason. Well, if we're having 17 people this year, we'll have 34 different desserts.
Yeah, I'm being like last year there was 8 of us plus the baby, and I think I did 4 desserts.
Yeah.
If not more, for only 8 of us. But that's why I made them like little ones, so everyone could have their own little pie, like slices each. But yeah, I normally go in this year. I'm like, no, I'm doing 2 pies. I had so many little pies left over last year, like 2 full-size pies, because there's only 5 of us.
Nice.
But Sailor, actually, maybe I should make more Sailor. Would probably eat a whole lemon meringue pie herself.
Like the diner lemon meringue pie with the whipped cream
Yeah,
on
where it's
top
like
of it.
the 3
big.
inches of
Then-
meringue, yeah.
Yep, tops off, crispied up.
Okay, so
Everything in a key lime pie.
it's gonna be just.
Disco Linda in Woodstock. She's this 80-year-old woman, Disco Linda.
Yeah.
Never heard of her. Look up her. Marion Jose Cuervo was on the front page of the Woodstock Times.
Really?
In like the 70s, she married a blow girl called Jose Cuervo at a bar in Woodstock. But she was a roller disco DJ, and now she's like this retired 80-something-year-old baker that makes all the desserts. Like each restaurant in Woodstock, like one of them has a different Disco Linda thing. And the restaurant I worked at, we had her key lime pie, which did a macadamia nut crust in it. It's the best key lime pie I've ever had. Like I won't even try to bake one
Really?
because I will just call Linda. I told her she has to leave me the recipe in her wheel. I was like, Linda, like I make you the best margaritas you've ever had. You have to leave me the recipe. I'll give you the recipe, but you have to leave me the key lime one.
Yeah, no kidding. Somebody's got the lockdown on the dessert,
Yeah, it's like I can't, like I'm not even gonna attempt it.
No.
And speaking of 80-year-olds, I saw the Beach Boys yesterday.
Did you?
I did.
Brian Wilson?
No, Mike Love.
Oh, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
It was
So we just raised the general fund budget by $2. I think we're.
Easy pass on the rail trail.
Wait, we raised it by $2?
Yeah, between the changes with the insurance and stuff, and
Oh.
the changes we just made, so from the preliminary budget to the final, it went up $2, so basically it's a wash. Let me just get highway put in here.
It was a wild concert. I thought me and my brother were gonna be the youngest
Where'd
ones
you see
there. Schenectady at
Proctor.
yeah, Proctor's, yeah, Proctor's, yeah, we were at
Great
Proctor's, yeah, beautiful theater.
Beach Boys?
Yeah, yesterday, 3 PM.
Really?
She texted me Saturday night and she's like, "Can I change your 3 to 3 tomorrow?" And I was like, tickets were like $25. She's like, I was like, I actually am, yeah, I'll come see the Beach Boys for
There was no special guest than John Stamos, though.
There was a whole story on the screen, so they do this thing where they like have a movie and like videos of them playing on like Ed Sullivan singing the same show or different like old like 60s TV shows. And then they did this one long story and plugged his book. Like it was the funniest thing. He was like, John Stamos, famous from Full House, but also wrote his new bestseller, blah 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 blah. And I was like,
Infomercial in the
I
middle
was
of
just
the
like,
concert.
you used to a plug for John Stamos in the middle of the concert. But they were good, I mean, well. Good for him for still being on that stage
Yeah.
at his age, but like the young guys were actually all really good that it was like 3 generations of men playing, like my grandpa with like his sons and his grandsons in a
Cool.
band. They weren't related at all, as far as I know, but it was good.
There's still some folks touring out there that, you know, like Frankie Valley, you're like, are you serious? You know? Good for them though.
I know, yeah, right. And he's still like at one point though, him and his keyboard.
So overall, we did go down.
Yeah.
Just highway down. Okay, so we get back to my agenda here. Here's the new numbers. So the general fund appropriations, $2,944,845. Revenues, $1,951,374. We're taking 500,000 from fund balance. Leaving amount to be raised by taxes, 493,471. Highway fund, the appropriations, 3,838,317. Revenues, 2,246,095. 0 from fund balance. Amount from taxes, 1,592,222.
The 592? 1,592?
1,592,222.
Thank you.
Ambulance districts, the Rochester ambulance is 189,000. There's 0 revenue, 0 from fund balance. The tax levy is 189,000. The High Falls ambulance district is 23,000. Oops. Nothing from revenue, nothing from fund balance, tax levy 23,000. Lighting districts are appropriations for Accord, 3,500. No revenue, we're taking 1,800 from fund balance, leaving 1,700 appropriation. For Hoxton Lighting is 2,320, nothing from revenue, taking 1,200 from fund balance, leaving 1,120. And the Berm Road lighting is $660. No revenue, 300 from fund balance, leaving 360. So do I have a motion on those numbers?
I'll make that one.
A second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained. It equates to
How much for our health, Mike?
$6.69 per 100,000 tax increase. So under $20 for $300,000.
All right.
That does not include the ambulance districts, but that's the general amount.
Well, with that, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Who seconded?